Welcome back to the channel. It has not been a good weekend for Disney or Lucasfilm, specifically with the reaction to the new Indiana Jones movie, but we also had an enormous billion-dollar closure happen, as well as some more details on this Rey movie. And we want to talk about how the failure is female for Lucasfilm and Disney, and who better to do that with than my good friend Aaron Spare. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing much better than Disney is this week.
Everyone's doing much better than Disney. Man, this Indiana Jones movie, just based off the few clips that I have seen, it looks awful. What were they thinking? Having the one clip where she's chastising Indy.
At least, they're not going to get sued for false advertising. This is what it's going to be. The movie's going to be just one long, consistent nag.
The Indiana Jones and the nagging of destiny, apparently, is what they should call it. For those of you who don't know, Disney's decision to premiere Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny at Cannes Film Festival may have been a big mistake after the movie debuted with a rotten score in Rotten Tomatoes. As the fifth and final Indiana Jones movie featuring the return of Harrison Ford for one last appearance as one of the most iconic characters in cinema history, it makes sense why Disney and Lucasfilm wanted to give the movie a prestigious unveiling at Cannes Film Festival in France. But after mixed reactions and a bad Rotten Tomatoes score, it may not have been the best way to kick off the run-up to the movie's release. And I saw another headline where he said this gave him Force Awakens vibes, and he thought it was going to revive the franchise.
Oh, well, he's a really good really good source, isn't he? Oh man. Yeah, no, it's getting absolutely hammered. It's weird that to me it seemed weird that they debuted it at Cannes, because it seems that the Cannes Films Festival, it seems like that's kind of a snootier bunch, people who go to see cinema, they go to see like a Scorsese film or something like that. And it's weird to just kind of like dump corporate slop in there and expect them to react well. And from what I heard, the audience, from all the reviews, it seems like the audience was very bored. They were whispering during it. They were talking amongst themselves. They weren't very engaged, and they weren't very interested. And it just comes in and it's like it's just a 1-2 punch of just Kathleen Kennedy failures. We lost the Galactic Star Cruiser this week, and Indiana Jones is getting savaged. Everything that she has done from Force Awakens, which I know Force Awakens made money, but let's admit it, it was just a rehash. It was a soft reboot. It was just a very safe, very uninteresting film. But everybody still kind of held out hope that maybe the second one would do something compelling and do something exciting. And of course, it didn't. So, everything she's done, everything she's put in motion, her creative vision is just completely bankrupt.
Who would have thought that a bunch of snooty, snobby European film fanatics at Cannes Film Festival wouldn't have wanted to see Harrison Ford in one of his legendary roles getting magged by Phoebe Cates-Waller, whoever the hell that is, for 2.5 hours as she tries to take his hat and whip away from him and become the new Indiana Jones.
I wish that it was Phoebe Cates in the movie. That would be amazing.
What's her name? Isn't it Phoebe Cates-Waller?
No, it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Whatever, man. Pretty close.
Everybody rightly calls her Fleabag from that show she had that got her a little bit of notoriety. In fairness, I did try to watch Fleabag. I tried to give it a chance, and I got about 20 minutes in, just gritting my teeth the whole way, just at how absolutely insufferable and unfunny I found her. It's what you consider like feminist comedy, which is not comedy at all. It's like trying to watch that Hannah Gatsby do stand-up, where you're just like holding onto the chair, just like you're white knuckling it, and like just it's an endurance test. And if you can get further in Fleabag, Godspeed, you're a stronger man than I.
So what do you think? Is this thing going to bomb? It feels like it's got Bomb-Maruski all over it.
So apparently this thing has, $90 million of partners coming in, people that are, dumb enough to help dump money into the marketing of this, and still they're going to have to do a huge spend to get it out there. They do Super Bowl commercials, which are very expensive to try and generate interest. And I think that there is some interest because people do love Harrison Ford. They love Harrison Ford in this iconic role. So I think it'll have an okay opening weekend. Do I think it'll do better than, say, Guardians of the Galaxy? I think that ship has sailed. I don't think it's going to do better. I think that this thing tops out at maybe $600 million at best. Time travel is a stupid concept to have in an Indiana Jones movie. Just like, Aliens was kind of a dumb concept to have in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's not what people go to Indiana Jones for. That's not kind of like, the way that we kind of feel about it. We want ancient artifacts of, an ancient time that, is shrouded in mystery and things like that. That's all very interesting. Once you kind of put in like more sci-fi elements, I think that it kind of loses its flavor. I don't think it's going to be received very well. It doesn't seem like people thought that the direction was that inspired. It's just like the only thing that anybody's really praising is that, you know, they got to see Harrison Ford again wearing the fedora and John Williams' score, which of course is going to be brilliant.
Absolutely. But that was not all the bad news for Lucasfilm, Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, and all these people. Galactic Cruiser is closing down after spending hundreds of millions of dollars to build an immersive Star Wars themed hotel at Walt Disney World. Disney said on Thursday that amid sweeping corporate cost cutting, it would close the underperforming attraction in September, only 18 months after it opened. All visits are 2-night stays with a starting cost of more than $4,800 for 2 people and around $6,000 for a family of 4. And they certainly didn't deliver when you had to make a choice whether you wanted to be like the First Order or the Resistance. No one wants to stay at an attraction about a movie series that everyone hated.
What choice do I want to go with? Do I want to go with the Wish.com Rebellion, or do I want to go with the Kmart Empire? Which version do I want? It's all watered down. And, you know, we know from reports that the Imagineers wanted to make this stuff about the original trilogy. Galaxy's Edge, they wanted to make original trilogy. Galactic Star Cruiser, you know, they would have loved to have made it original trilogy. And Kathleen Kennedy stepped in and was like, no, that's the old stuff. You know, we're creating new stuff. It should be about the new. It should be about what we're doing now. It should be about her vision. Well, I hate to tell you this, but even if she had a good vision, she would still be standing on the shoulders of a man. Still standing on the shoulders of a giant. So anytime you have the showrunner for The Acolyte, or you have this new showrunner for this potential Rey movie that may or may not ever happen, probably won't, according to, you know, what history tells us with Kathleen Kennedy, and they're coming out and they're talking about how it needs to change. It's patriarchal and we need to make men uncomfortable. It's like, well, you have your job because of a man. You're standing on the shoulder of a giant, George Lucas, his wife Maria Lucas, you know, the people that contributed to that, Lawrence Kasdan, all the people that contributed to that original Ralph McQuarrie's designs. You know, you've got all of these people that you are basically just taking what they created and you are bastardizing it and making a poor photocopy of it. And in the case of the Galactic Star Cruiser, it's not even a really good photocopy. Nobody looked at that and thought that it looked like Star Wars. It just looks like generic space adventure. It might as well be Flash Gordon.
Well, I wouldn't mind a Flash Gordon hotel either, unless Kathleen Kennedy remade the damn thing and ruined it.
Well, you know, then it would be, Femme Gordon.
You wouldn't try to charge $6,000 for a family of 4 for 2 days. That price was absolutely ridiculous. But I do think there are enough Star Wars fans worldwide, and certainly a lot of us have families now, to warrant those kind of costs if they actually deliver. This thing didn't have to fail.
No, you know, nobody wants to go see Kylo Ren. Nobody wants to go see Rey. People want to see Luke Skywalker. They want to see Han Solo. They want to see Leia. They want to see Darth Vader, you know, confronting Darth Vader. Even on the Rise of the Resistance, you know, in Galaxy's Edge, everybody comes off it goes, yeah, that's a pretty neat ride. Sure would be cool if it was the original trilogy. It's something I cared about. You know, and that's the same thing with this Galactic Star Cruiser. From the moment they started revealing the characters on the ship, that stupid blue captain with her red hair, it just all looks so cheap and ridiculous. And then the party games they had on there, oh, you can, you know, play like a little lightsaber game that you might as well have your Xbox Connect out for. That's the level of technology you're dealing with. Who wants to pay $6,000 for that? And then to stay in a tiny windowless room, there's not even video screens that make it look like you're looking outside at the expanse of space.
There's not even a pool.
No.
I can tell you, someone with kids, you got to have a pool.
Yeah, otherwise, the kids are going to be bored as hell in that little room. You know, how long are they going to want to do the cheap experiences? You know, and that's the other thing is like they just map it all out for you. You can't even really relax. It's more like work.
Yeah, you got to go along with the adventure and all that kind of stupid stuff.
And it's not even a good adventure. What's the Resistance and the First Order? Get out of here.
Absolutely. Speaking of not a good adventures and all that crap, the Rey movie will be asking the galaxy if they still want the Jedi. According to Kathleen Kennedy, this is what she said recently. We've been talking a lot about going well into the past, and one of the things that's really knitting this all together, obviously, are the Jedi. What happened with the Jedi over time? Much like history, how did the Jedi evolve? They were wiped out with Order 66, then they gradually have been coming back. The question that we're going to ask with the new Jedi Order, and with Rey, is, does the galaxy need them anymore? Do they want them back? Well, I cannot talk about a galaxy far, far away because I do not inhabit that place. But I can tell you right now, this galaxy don't need the Jedi, and we certainly don't need them back as long as Kathleen Kennedy and Disney have anything to do with Lucasfilm.
No, absolutely not. I don't want them back. I actually, the less that they actually make, the better. Whenever I hear that some series or some show or some movie that they've got, you know, when I hear that it's just failed and they're stopping it and they're not working on it anymore, oh, that warms my heart. I remember it used to be, we would get really excited. We heard, hey, there's a new Star Wars movie coming. And we were like, oh my gosh, what's it going to be about? It's going to be amazing. You know, I'm so excited. Or there's a Marvel movie coming, or you're going to get a TV show based on this property you love, or a movie based on this property you love. And we would get all excited and we'd start speculating. And now you hear it and you go, oh God, no, please. Please, because all it's
Ray movie with a director that's never actually made a movie that just makes like feminist propaganda. Who wouldn't want to watch that? Well, everybody in the world, apparently.
You know, and this is the problem. Like, you know, we talk about, you know, Kathleen Kennedy with her The Force is Female, and all of his failure, of course, is on her shoulders. The failure is really female. There's plenty of creative women out there that you could have hired, but she hires activists instead. You know, not directors, not people who make films, not people who create stories, but activists. And the public at large does not like activists. They don't like being preached to. They don't like people up in their face. They don't like being hammered over the head with a message. And when you start injecting that into entertainment, you're going to fail again and again and again. And that's what we're seeing. Kathleen Kennedy's, you know, she was so concerned about her legacy. That's why she wanted Star Wars so bad, so she could shape it and really like leave a legacy in film. And the legacy that she's going to leave is perhaps being the worst studio head in history. She has crashed every golden goose that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg built up. Star Wars, they destroyed Willow. They destroy, you know, they're in the process of destroying Indiana Jones. What's left at Lucasfilm that she can destroy? Are they going to bring back the Radioland murders and just obliterate that as well?
Not cool. You know, it's crazy. It's not just like the franchises that she's destroyed. She's also destroyed all these relationships because there have been so many really talented writers and directors associated with Star Wars projects that were announced, and none of them came out because apparently she is like the hardest person in the world to work with. If you try to make a good Star Wars movie or a script that makes sense for Star Wars, she will absolutely fire you. You have to do something like Rian Johnson, where you absolutely subvert every expectation for a Star Wars movie just to get her message across, because that's more important than the actual franchise that Disney spent like almost $5 billion to buy.
Yeah, and you know that this whole Rey movie, this her rebuilding the Jedi Order, this is going to be her self-insert of how she views herself as rebuilding Star Wars into something better, something more inclusive. Star Wars was always inclusive. Everybody could enjoy Star Wars because it was just flat out entertaining. Now you've made it so alienating to boys and to, you know, to the larger Star Wars base, you know, fan base, that nobody wants to see this shit. Because they know exactly what they're going to get. They're just going to get a bunch of agenda slop with a Star Wars skin stretched tightly over it, like a, you know, like a fat person in Spanx. You know, the failure is also with Bob Iger. The failure is also with Kevin Feige. You know, the direction.
With the allies.
It's with the allies. So you know, they have this agenda, and they thought that everybody had this agenda because they live in this bubble, and they're like, if we just follow this agenda, everybody's going to respond because everybody feels this way. Well, yeah, everybody in your little tiny group of sycophants is going to tell you they feel that way, and you know, all the yes men are going to tell you they feel that way because you're the boss. But if you go out and you actually know people in the real world, you actually talk to normies, they don't want any of this.
If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Lucasfilm fan, there just hasn't been much to chew on, much to get excited about for quite some time. Recently, they tried to get some buzz going at Star Wars Celebration, announcing 3 new movies that are gonna come out. 2 of them obviously will never see the light of day in a movie theater. The only place you'll ever see them is on Disney+. I broke it all down and why most of this was absolute crap for the most part, and Kathleen Kennedy is the ultimate failure in Hollywood history. If you haven't seen this video, definitely check it out right now. There's also a link in the video description.